Today I want to talk about Miami, Louisiana, and why Alabama and Texas might actually get tougher games than they first expected in September. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Alabama and Texas and Miami and Louisiana. I want to go at it just a little bit differently because we're heading into spring practice. Many of the FBS programs we know and love have already begun spring practice. Some are finishing, like Coastal Carolina said in January, no, we're going to get this work in. And they were able to get work in last year, one of the only teams in the FBS to do that before the pandemic and the lockdown. And I think it paid dividends in ways that we all saw. They were a one-loss team that was this close to playing in a New Year's Six bowl game. Outstanding game to finish the season against Liberty. We saw Grayson McCall and his come up. We got new respect for Jamie Chadwell. And now people know the Chanticleers out at Conway. I also thought it was really interesting for the teams that didn't get a whole lot of spring practice that were also able to make something happen. Alabama being at the top of that list, but Alabama's also got an interesting game scheduled in what I think is going to be the most competitive year of college football we have ever seen, after perhaps the least competitive year of college football that we have ever seen, we being you and I, and probably since the modern era began post-World War II. But it starts with the super seniors. With the COVID-19 waiver, seniors got an extra year of eligibility that does not count toward the scholarship numbers for their respective programs. We'll get to the nitty-gritty of that, but let's go with some numbers right quick, get to Alabama and Texas here in a bit. More than 1,000 seniors have opted to return for an additional year, right? That number keeps rising. Last time I checked, it was like 1,040 at 129 FBS schools, okay? And many coaches have taken that strategy as the one in which they expect to turn around their programs. Matt Wells has said, my plan in Lubbock was to get old and stay old. He wants to do it not unlike Dave Clawson at Wake Forest. He would love nothing more than to have a bunch of seniors running around on his two deep and trying to build in that manner, really taking advantage of the experience and guys getting to know your scheme and guys trusting you and earning that confidence. Now, his super seniors could also lead to that sort of turnaround because it is the Big 12, but it's not as deep as the SEC, for instance. But the Red Raiders are 8-14 in his first season. There was talk about boosters wanting to fire him last year, and there's talk about, at the time, Art Briles waiting in the wings. He fires David Yost, his offensive coordinator, and brings in Sonny Cumbie to help him reset that offense. And then they go get Tyler Shuck out of the transfer portal to compete with stud Baron Morton for the starting quarterback job. And all of a sudden, they look like they might have something there. And then we get into the two teams that I'm actually really interested in seeing. Louisiana Lafayette, or Louisiana, has 96% of its returning production from 2020. 96%. It's basically like Elijah Mitchell is really the only thing that's gone. That means you got back Levi Lewis. UCLA and Miami, also 91% of their returning production. And if De'Aaron King is healthy, that's a Heisman front runner, especially if they are able to go at Alabama and get a W. And Texas, of course, plays Louisiana in September. So as of, the last weekend of February, Illinois expects to have 17 scholarship super seniors, and it will be the only Power 5 squad to be able to make that claim. That also costs money, right? Athletic director just hired, I think we're gonna call him Bert, but Brett Bielema, right, as his new head coach, and he also was bullish on bringing back these super seniors because even at $500,000 a whop, he can see the upside to having 92 scholarship players in the Big Ten West. The quote that he gave to the Associated Press is, as we look at it, the chance to capitalize on their return and really continue our progress on the football field was really a cost well worth it. given what we think the upside of that will be. 92 scholarship players, 17 of them seniors. We're going to see monster senior classes. Hopefully we get to see monster senior days. But if Louisiana and Miami in particular are as cohesive as I think they might be, yeah, man, let's do that. Let's get after that, because Alabama ain't going to have all those guys. But that's because Alabama sends most of those guys to the NFL, right? They have 11 guys that were invited to the NFL Combine. Ohio State leads the way with 14 guys invited to the NFL Combine. They're not actually going to try to go get a bunch of seniors to pad their roster like a Texas Tech, because they don't need to. They're counting on the incoming talent being well worth the experience that others are gaining. But Illinois making that play in the Big Ten West makes a lot of sense for me, because it's really now them. Northwestern's going to be in a rebuilding year unless Ryan Olinsky or Hunter Johnson can prove that they are the guy, even though I think they got one of the best defensive backs in the country in Brandon Joseph. Wisconsin, we'll see, right? I need your run game to get back. I need you to beat RBU, right? But Louisiana also has a really interesting schedule. They play in a Sun Belt conference that is getting more and more respect. Would not surprise me that this be the year where an undefeated Sun Belt team is sniffing the college football playoff, and unlike years past, especially if the Big 12 doesn't have an undefeated team or the Pac-12 doesn't have an undefeated team, and we're down to, again, SEC and the ACC having two undefeated teams in there. But you get where I'm going with this. And then Texas, in a rebuilding year, they don't want them problems. I wouldn't want them problems. So Louisiana could go get themselves a very good Power 5 W after the Sun Belt turned the Big 12 into, its own property, with Coastal Carolina beating Kansas, with Arkansas State beating Kansas State, and with, of course, Louisiana beating Iowa State, same Iowa State team that won the Fiesta Bowl last year. And we can have all sorts of conversations about that. But I wanted to put all this in front of you because I thought it was wild and interesting, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out. All right, that's it for me. Doses.